In the time before time, when the earth still whispered and the heavens had no names, the gods carved the world with will alone. They spoke in thunder, ruled in silence, and watched over creation like sculptors over unformed clay. But one god did not speak like the others. He laughed. Eshu came into the world sideways, not born, but arrived, with a cackle in his throat and mischief already dancing in his eyes. While other deities claimed thrones of stone or sky, Eshu stood at the only place that mattered. The crossroads, the place where all paths meet and no path is safe. He was neither the strongest nor the wisest, but he was something more dangerous, unpredictable. The gods saw him as an anomaly, a nuisance, even a threat. Mortals feared his name, yet whispered it into the wind when no one was listening. But they misunderstood. Eshu did not bring chaos for the sake of destruction. He brought motion where others enforced order. He asked, why? Where others drew lines, he blurred them. He walked between truth and lies, between justice and impulse, between what is and what could. And when he walked, he changed things, not with force, but with choice. Every step he took turned harmony into questions and questions into transformation. His arrival signaled something new. The end of certainty. The other Orisha called council, whispering of his laughter echoing in sacred halls, of offerings gone missing, of prayers twisted into riddles. He disturbs balance, they said, but Allah Jumair, the Supreme One, simply smiled. A no path moves forward, he said, unless a road is opened. Ray. And so Eshu became more than a god. He became a messenger. Not just between mortals and heaven, but between order and awakening. He delivered prayers, yes, but sometimes he changed them. He carried offerings, but sometimes he kept them. He didn't create the chaos. He delivered it exactly when it was needed. And so begins the tale of a god who is both bridge and fire, who wears no crown, yet bends the world by asking just the right question at just the wrong time. In the land of gods, mortals, and fate, the crossroads has eyes, and they belong to Eshu. There was a village, peaceful, quiet, proud. Its people lived in harmony, their days guided by rhythm, tradition, and truth. And at the heart of it were two inseparable friends, Dada and Keji. They had grown from boys to men together, hunted under the same moon, built homes side by side, and swore oaths that nothing, not even the gods, could break their bond. And then Eshu walked through. He came at midday, down the central path where all the farmers worked and gossip passed like wind. He whistled as he went, wearing a tall, elegant hat, half dyed red, half dyed black. A strange sight, a bold color, but no one thought much of it. That is, until Dada and Keji saw him pass from opposite sides of the road. Dada laughed. Did you see that odd fellow in the red hat? A red? Are you blind? It was black. They chuckled at first, thinking it a trick of the sun, but then came pride, then stubbornness, and finally accusation. You always think you know better, Dada muttered. Because I usually do, Keji snapped. A few hours passed. Then came shouting, then fists. By dusk, the whole village was divided. Some siding with Dada, others with Keji. Families took sides. Old wounds reopened. Spears were sharpened. Prayers withheld. Boundaries redrawn. All over a hat. And that night, as the village elders gathered to beg the gods for clarity, Eshu returned. Standing in the moonlight at the crossroads, with a grin that cut through silence. He took off his hat, spun it in the air, and revealed the truth. It was red on one side, black on the other. I never lied, he said. But you chose to believe only what you saw. The elders stood speechless. The friends, now bitter enemies, said nothing at all. And Eshu, messenger of paradox, dealer of destiny, turned and walked away, leaving behind a truth that burned far worse than any lie. That perception is more dangerous than deception. And pride will always choose a side. The village would heal, eventually, but it would never be the same. Because now they knew, Eshu does not need to lift a sword to start a war. He only needs to ask a question no one's willing to answer. The message that broke two kingdoms. Once there were two powerful kingdoms, alike in splendor and equally proud, yet constantly on the edge of war. They had fought over rivers, insulted over borders, and nearly bled themselves dry. Now, after decades of tension, they stood poised for peace. Each king, King Olanrawaju of the East and King Babajid of the West, agreed to terms. Simple, fair, fragile, but there was a problem. Who would carry the treaty? No scribe could be trusted. No soldier would return alive if suspicion rose. And so the gods, amused and wary, chose Eshu, the messenger of heaven, the keeper of crossroads, the god who speaks to all and belongs to none. He accepted with a sly nod and two identical scrolls, one for each king. The message was the same. The path should have been clear. But as Eshu traveled, something shifted. At the gates of Olanruwaju's palace, Eshu delivered the treaty with warmth, a slight smile, and words laced in velvet tones. Your enemy bows to your wisdom. He offers peace on your terms. Olanruwaju grinned. Victory without war. But when Eshu crossed into Babajidi's land, the delivery changed. His posture stiffened. His voice dropped. Our enemy believes you are weak, he said. He offers peace, but expects you to kneel. Babajidi's eyes turned cold. He tore the scroll apart and summoned his general. Within a week, the armies clashed once more, blades flashing under a blood-red sky. Peace was dead, and the gods, watching from above, said nothing. But when the smoke cleared and both kingdoms lay wounded, a priest approached the ruins of the battlefield. There he found Eshu sitting calmly on a fallen banner, playing with two dice made of bone. Why? The priest asked, weeping. Why did you twist their words? Eshu looked up, eyes gleaming. Why said exactly what they wanted to hear, he said. One desired submission, the other feared humiliation. I simply revealed the war they already carried inside them. And as the priest stood in stunned silence, Eshu vanished, leaving only the truth behind. A message is never just the words. It's the mind that receives them and the hearts that twist them into war. In the realm where fate is in the woven and secrets are currency, Orunmila reigns supreme, the god of wisdom, keeper of destiny's scrolls. His mind is a labyrinth. Every thought a thread that connects past, present, and future in perfect order. But even Orunmila's logic falters before one force. Eshu, the unpredictable curve in every plan, the riddle in every prophecy. One day, Orunmila sent word across the divine realms. Eshu, let us test the nature of truth. A game of riddles and reason was set, a contest where stakes were higher than any mortal war. If Eshu lost, he would be bound to silence his mischief forever, never to stir chaos again. But if Eshu won, the gates to the divine library of fate would open to him, secrets no god had seen before. Eshu accepted, grin twisting like a flame in the dark. The contest began with questions that bent minds, with puzzles that tied tongues. Orunmila's voice was calm but sharp, each word a trap designed to corner the trickster god. Yet Eshu danced around every snare, twisting meanings and bending logic until Orunmila faltered. Once, twice, and then at the final riddle, Eshu did something no one expected. He lost. He let Orunmila claim victory, but only on the surface, because in that loss, Eshu saw the cracks beneath the wisdom. He glimpsed a secret Orunmila had hidden even from himself. A truth so fragile it could unravel fate itself. With a smile that was both victory and surrender, Eshu whispered, sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to lose. Orunmila's eyes widened, his calm shaken. For in this game, Eshu had shown that chaos wasn't absence of order, but a force that could reveal the hidden paths fate tries to hide. Run. And as the gods watched, the trickster walked away, not silenced, but transformed, holding a power beyond the rule. In a distant corner of the world, a village once prosperous and vibrant had fallen silent. Their crops withered, their rivers ran dry, and no prayers seemed to reach Olajumare, the supreme god. The villagers cried out in despair, believing themselves cursed. Desperate, the elders summoned Eshu, the messenger between mortals and gods, pleading, "Bring our prayers to the heavens. Restore our blessings." Eshu arrived not with answers, but questions. He watched them perform their rituals, the sacrifices, the chants, the offerings, all meticulously done, yet something was missing. He confronted the village chief and asked, "Do you believe your prayers come with true intention, or are they hollow echoes, repeated without heart?" The villagers bristled. Some whispered doubts, others accused Eshu of mockery. But Eshu persisted, walking through their fields and homes, speaking to the unseen. The gods do not ignore empty rituals. They listen for the fire beneath words, the will that pushes prayers upward. A stunned silence fell. Then Eshu revealed the truth. The village was never cursed by gods. They were shackled by their own doubt, fear, and resignation. Without intention, even the purest offerings are lost in the wind. With that, Eshu lifted his arms and the winds shifted. The rivers began to flow again, and the fields slowly greened. But the greatest blessing was a new lesson etched in their hearts. Choice is not just in actions, but in belief. Without will, fate cannot be moved. Eshu vanished before the villagers could thank him, leaving behind a whisper carried by the breeze. A crossroads always await, but the path you take depends on the strength of your own soul. Far beyond the Yoruba lands, across oceans and time, Eshu's spirit was reborn, known now as Elisha. Different name, different realm, but the same mischievous spark that bends fate and truth. In this new world, Eligwa's paths crisscrossed with mortals in unexpected ways, opening doors, closing others, forever the guardian of choices. One day, Eligwa sought out a priestess renowned for her visions. She was proud, confident, certain she could read the threads of destiny better than any god. Eligwa offered her a challenge, a look into my mirror. See what lies beyond the surface. Not your past, but the shadow of a future yet unspoken. The priestess peered into the glass. At first she saw only herself, a woman of power and wisdom. But as the reflection deepened, it twisted, shifting into visions that made her blood run cold. Betrayals she had yet to commit, sacrifices she would make, paths she would choose that no seer had ever foretold. "This is your truth," Eligwa whispered, "not what you were, but what you will be, shaped by choices you have yet to make." She staggered back, shaken by the reflection of a future she realized she was destined to create, a future that would challenge gods and mortals alike. Eligwa smiled, for he was not merely showing a vision, but igniting a spark. A choice had been placed before her, and all roads would begin there. In a quiet village nestled at the edge of the forest, a curious child named Io had heard the whispers. Tales of a god who walked the crossroads, whose laughter echoed like thunder, and whose tricks reshaped destinies. Determined to uncover the truth, Io began to follow the elusive figure known as Eshu. The journey was no simple path. Eshu led Io through twisting trails, illusions that bent light and sound, and riddles that folded reality upon itself. Each step tested the child's courage, patience, and faith. At times, Io thought he was lost forever. At others, certain he was walking in circles. But the child pressed on, driven by a hunger for secrets. But here's the twist. Io wasn't merely following Eshu. Eshu was following Io. The trickster god saw in the child a spark of destiny, a seed of prophecy yet to bloom. With every illusion and trial, Eshu was shaping Io, preparing him to become a prophet, a bridge between gods and mortals. In a quiet moment, beneath a sky woven with stars, Eshu revealed himself. "You think you chase me, but I have chosen you. Your path is just beginning." And as the child looked into Eshu's eyes, he saw not a trickster, but a guide, the keeper of choices, the opener of roads. The day the roads disappeared, one day, without warning or farewell, Eshu vanished. The crossroads, once alive with movement and possibility, began to crumble, their paths fading into dust. Messages went unanswered. Prayers hung suspended in the void. Without the God who walks between worlds, communication faltered. Mortals were stranded in silence, and even the gods grew restless. Without Eshu's deliberate chaos to test and balance the divine, order itself spiraled into a new madness. Rival gods, once held in fragile peace by the tension of possibility, erupted into open conflict. Alliances shattered like brittle glass, and the heavens trembled with the threat of destruction. In the void left by Eshu's absence, the world began to unravel. But here's the twist. Order without chaos is not harmony. It is stagnation and tyranny. Eshu's disappearance revealed a truth long hidden. The world does not need perfect order, but a balance where chaos challenges certainty and choice is born from uncertainty. As the gods warred and the mortal realm teetered on collapse, whispers spread through the shadows, calling for the return of the trickster who opens all roads. The storm of divine war raged fiercely across the heavens. Brothers and sisters torn by betrayal, alliances forged and shattered in the blink of an eye. The gods, once confident in their power, now faced a catastrophe none could prevent. In the eye of the chaos stood Eshu, the trickster, the messenger, the god who walks all crossroads. With a knowing smile, he stepped forward, offering both warring sides a single choice. One path leads to ruin, the other to transformation. Choose wisely, but do not ask me which is better, for I do not decide your fate. The gods hesitated, fearful of making a choice that could doom all creation. But here is the twist. Eshu did not merely know the outcome. He had already lived it. In a cycle long forgotten, he had walked these same crossroads, faced the same impossible decision, and bore the scars of its consequences. Now he was both guide and witness, pushing the gods to choose a path where destruction could give way to rebirth. Yet, as the gods deliberated, Eshu's eyes flickered with something unseen, a secret hope and a hidden plan, for he understood that transformation often demands sacrifice and betrayal. The crossroads held their breath. The fate of all hung in the balance. The God who opens all roads, the gods and mortals alike, gathered at the great crossroads, a place where all paths converge, where destinies' threads intertwine. They demanded answers. Who is Eshu, really? Is he a liar, a destroyer, a god of chaos, or a messenger of truth and fate? Eshu said nothing. Instead, he stood silently at the very center of the crossroads, his presence both commanding and elusive. Then, in a single, breathtaking moment, he began to walk. Not down one path, but all paths simultaneously. One step toward peace, another toward war. One toward love, another toward betrayal. The crowd watched, stunned, as Eshu embodied the paradox. Neither good nor evil, neither savior nor villain. Every path anyone takes, whether to glory or ruin, forgiveness or vengeance, begins with a choice he sets in motion. He is not the roadblock, but the road maker. The God who opens all roads but never decides which one you walk. As he vanished into the shifting horizon, a whisper lingered. I do not control your fate. I only open the way. The choice is yours.